It is 9 o'clock in the morning in Washington, D.C., and Ted Cruz is still talking. Fox News alert now entering his 18th hour and counting. This is a marathon speech from the Texas senator against Obamacare. He is still going strong. This all started yesterday at 2:41 Eastern Time. Here is how the marathon began.
I intend to speak in opposition to Obamacare. I intend to speak in support of defunding Obamacare until I am no longer able to stand.
Apparently, he's still able to stand, and he was not kidding when he mentioned that. Well, Rand Paul said, wear comfortable shoes, and apparently he has. No cowboy boots, but something's on his feet to keep him going. I'm Bill Hemron. Welcome here as we watch this unfold in D.C.
Sneakers, I heard. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I'm Martha McCallum. Glad to have you with us this morning, everybody. So Senator Cruz has been standing there, as Bill said, since yesterday afternoon, railing against what he calls a, quote, liberal train wreck. And he is outlining the problems that he sees with Washington.
Washington says we have to accept this. Hardworking American families are struggling, and their life has become harder and harder and harder. And Madam President, Obamacare is the biggest job killer in this country. The American people want to stop this madness. And so do I. Here in Washington, we pass million-dollar bills, billion-dollar bills no one's ever read, often without even voting on them. We call it unanimous consent. It's only unanimous because they don't let anyone know.
It's not just him that's been up all night, though. He's gotten a little bit of help from his friends. This now from 3 p.m. yesterday.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
I'm happy to yield for a question without yielding the floor.
Ask my distinguished colleague, the senator from Texas, a series of questions with regard to this concept, make D.C. listen.
Senators don't always ask for advice from other senators, but I thought I'd come down and make sure you had comfortable shoes on, make sure you're getting enough to eat. Try not to eat on television. That's a little bit of free advice that sometimes shows up.
Well, we're going to talk to Mike Lee in a moment, and Rand Paul said his feet hurt for weeks afterwards, so that's why that's his advice. We know that Ted Cruz is in it for the long haul at this point. He's still talking at this moment. He went on all night long. This one is from about 1:30 in the morning. Watch.
You know, it's now late at night. I'm going to venture to say most members of the United States Senate are home in bed asleep, while America lives the nightmare. If we were listening to the people, we wouldn't be home asleep. If we were listening to the people, we'd be experiencing that nightmare. We'd be waking up, much like my little girls do sometimes when they have a scary dream. But we'd be responding like any parent does when your child has a nightmare. You'd come in and try to make the nightmare go away. America's experiencing that nightmare, and it's even worse because here, the United States Senate caused that nightmare. Now, I will say, standing here after 14 hours, standing on your own feet, there's sometimes some pain, sometimes some fatigue that is involved. But you know what? There's far more pain involved in rolling over.
Then last hour, by the way, that last one was 4:30 this morning. At 8 o'clock this morning, Senator Pat Roberts out of Kansas offered to buy him breakfast. Now it is 9 o'clock in Washington. He's still going. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel. He's been up most of the night, too. And Mike, good morning to you. How is Senator Cruz holding up and hanging on at this point? Good morning.
Well, Bill, remarkably well. He's still speaking in complete sentences. He seems energized when his Senate colleagues join him on the floor to ask a question. In hour 17, Kansas Senator Pat Roberts asked this question.
How are you doing?
I thank the senator from Kansas, and I will tell you I am doing fabulous. I am encouraged, I'm inspired, I'm motivated by the American people right now.
Saw a black car down there in the parking lot, had a Texas license plate. I figured that was yours.
And there are no signs of letting up. Rand Paul was on the floor just a few minutes ago, senator from Kentucky, and he asked why President Obama is not going on Obamacare. He suggested that's a question we might want to ask at the White House briefing, Bill.
So based on Senate rules, the way I get it here, he can talk until 12 Eastern time this afternoon. a little less than 3 hours from now. So even with that all-nighter, the Senate moves forward today. Is that right, Mike?
That's right. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid put the procedural wheels in motion. So bottom line, there will be a vote sometime around midday on funding the government from October 1st through November 15th. There's been some name calling because Cruz cannot stop the process. Here's how he handled that.
I would note that among the House members who joined us, Congressman Justin Amash came to the floor of the Senate to join us to support this effort. And I'd note Congressman Amash has the unique distinction of joining you and me and Senator Paul in the description of being, I believe the term was, wacko birds, which I, for one, I'm not sure which particular avian species to which that refers, but whichever one it is, if it reflects a fidelity to the Constitution, a fidelity to liberty, and a willingness to fight to defend the principles this country was founded on, then I believe I can speak for you and Rand and Congressman Amash, and I think quite a few others of us are very, very proud wacko birds.
Senator Cruz last week promised House conservatives who were fighting to defund Obamacare that he would do everything within his power to try to stop it. The process rolls on, but he is giving everything he's got clearly on the Senate floor.
Indeed, he is. Mike, thank you. Mike Emanuel leading our coverage there on the Hill as we continue to watch. I don't know if the senator drinks coffee or not. I don't believe he does. You remember we were at Tampa for the Republican?
Think he drinks coffee?
I'm not so sure.
Oh my
but remember
gosh.
we were at the convention in Tampa this past summer. Ted Cruz came out, and no one really knew the guy. And we were wondering why he had such a prime-time speaking position. The podium was lowered into the stage, and he walked right and left across the stage with no notes and no teleprompter and really showed his communication abilities that night. That was the first impression I had of Ted Cruz. Well, he was a debate champ at Princeton University, and then he went on to Harvard to law school, so he has a ton of experience in his professional life as well, obviously, and he's putting all that to the test right now. And it was interesting because there were also some lighter moments throughout the course of this, like around 8 o'clock last night when Senator Cruz read Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. He read the entire book, and he read it as a bedtime story to his two little girls.
Would you like them in a house? Would you like them with a mouse? I do not like them in a house. I do not like them with a mouse. I do not like them here or there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am.
Sam, I am. So he managed to pull off his dad duties at the same time by reading to his little girls. And there they are in front of the television. What a memory that is for them. That is the staff picture that was sent out by his staff. That's Catherine and Caroline catching it all on C-SPAN last night. It might be the first time that they were told their bedtime story. I'm sure it was the first time from the Senate floor.
Might have been the first time they watched C-SPAN, too.
Might have been.
Sometime around 1 a.m., Senator Cruz even quoted the runaway hit reality show Duck Dynasty.
Millions of Americans tune into Duck Dynasty, so I want to point out just a few words of wisdom from Duck Dynasty. Jay said, redneck rule number 1, most things can be fixed with duct tape and extension cords. That's actually very true.
Senator Cruz had some other culture references. I mean, you got to talk about something when you're talking 18 hours now. Toby Keith's courtesy of the red, white, and blue, comparing the fight against Obamacare to the Rebel Alliance in Star Wars. We heard that a little bit a short time ago, too.
Well, as we said, Senator Cruz has not done this all along. At certain moments, Utah Senator Mike Lee stepped in, one time with some Jeopardy-type questions. Watch this one.
The device known as a camel's hair brush, do you know what it's made of?
I yield for that question, and curiously enough, I do. Now, you might think, camel's hair brush must be made of camels. There are lots of camels. They have hair. Surely you can make a brush. Well, maybe you can. I don't know if you can. But a camel's hair brush is made of squirrel fur. And it makes you wonder, the squirrels apparently have a very bad marketing department.
I don't think a squirrel hair brush sounds too appealing. But today we're going to talk to Mike Lee. We'll ask him how they're doing out there, because right now he's still on the floor with Senator Cruz. We do expect that he'll be here talking to us in America's Newsroom at 10:10 if they are indeed able to let him go at that moment from the floor. So we'll find out what's going on.
So you've got this battle with Ted Cruz,
Yeah.
Single-handedly almost, along with Cruz and Mike Lee on Obamacare. And now you've got the threat also of the possibility of a government shutdown come next Tuesday.
Right.
And we believe this legislation is going to ping-pong from the Senate back to the House. But what day that happens and how much time the House has to amend that piece of legislation is something we do not know. So there is drama.
There's some
over
talk
the next
that the
5
Senate
days.
Republicans might yield the rest of their time so that they can get it back to the House, so that they'll have the time to figure out how they're going to amend it. This is very, very interesting what we're watching unfold here this morning. So stay tuned for all of it. And meanwhile,